The Easter brunch at the garden terrace felt like any other family gathering, buzzing chatter, clinking cutlery, and the aroma of baked ham and hot cross buns filling the air. 30 relatives were packed around the long oak table, everyone focused on the lavish spread. My sister Olivia had the spotlight as usual, narrating every detail of her new apartment arrangement. 3 bedrooms shared between 4 roommates, $850 each, a surprisingly efficient bathroom rotation she clearly found thrilling. My parents hung on her every word, asking follow-ups about the kitchen space and whether the building had a gym. I sat quietly, poking at my eggs Benedict, offering only the occasional nod, invisible just like I'd been for years. Then Grandpa Walter arrived. Grandpa wasn't just my father's father. He was a retired real estate mogul who'd built half the downtown skyline and sold his company for 8 figures. More importantly, he was the one family member who'd always cared about my career, the one who'd actually noticed my work ethic over the past 9 years. "Sorry I'm late, everyone," he said warmly, sliding into the empty seat beside me and pressing a gentle kiss to my cheek. "Had to check on the 5th Street property. Tenants wanted to discuss the lease renewal." He turned to me, eyes twinkling. "But I couldn't miss Easter with my favorite granddaughter. Tell me, is that $1.3 million house of yours everything you hoped for?" The table froze. Olivia's fork hovered mid-air. My mother's mimosa paused in mid-sip. My father went pale. "Dad, what are you talking about?" he whispered, voice tight. I sipped my wine slowly, savoring the moment. 9 years of being overlooked. 9 years of living in the shadow of Olivia's every mundane achievement. 9 years of invisibility. Grandpa continued casually, cutting into a roll. "The Riverside Estates house. Nicole bought it back in 2015. 5 bedrooms, custom finishes, that river view. I told her at the time it was undervalued. Market's proven me right. It's appreciated beautifully." Olivia's voice squeaked first, disbelief coating every word. "Nicole doesn't, she rents downtown. That's all she's ever had." I shook my head, calm but firm. "I rented that studio for a couple of years after grad school. Then I bought the Riverside Estates property. 9 years ago." Coffee cups clattered. Forks paused. The silence was electric. "My house? You bought a house?" My father's voice cracked, as though struggling to calculate impossible numbers. "Yes," I said evenly. "A 5-bedroom, $1.05 million in June 2015. Paid $210,000 down and financed the rest. Fully paid off in 4 years." Grandpa nodded, impressed. "Smart. Favorable mortgage, disciplined payments, saved her roughly $180,000 in interest." My father's jaw worked. "How 5 years?" "Yes. Aggressive payments. Every bonus, every raise went straight to the principal." My mother's brow furrowed. "Bonuses? Raises?" "I'm the Chief Technology Officer at Innovate Solutions," I said simply. 12 years there. Current compensation, $340,000 annually including equity. The room went silent. Olivia looked sick. My parents looked like they'd been struck. $340,000 a year, my father repeated mechanically. I clarified. Base, $240,000. Bonuses, $60,000. Stock options vesting this year, $40,000. And yes, another $280,000 in unvested equity that matures over 3 years. Mimosa glass shattered. Eyes widened. The air thickened. You're a CTO? Since when?" My mother asked, trembling. 18 months, I said. Promoted from VP of Engineering. Before that, Director of Technology. Over a decade climbing the ladder. And yes, I mentioned it repeatedly, texts, emails, casual mentions. You didn't listen. Grandpa scrolled through his phone, smiling faintly. Here are the messages, Mom and Dad. September 2022, Nicole told you about the CTO promotion. Response. That's nice. Then Olivia's gym membership became the topic of conversation. The accusation hung in the air. Undeniable, damning. Olivia flushed red. That's not fair. Not fair. Grandpa asked, calm and steady. You've been talking about your shared apartment for 45 minutes, and your parents didn't know Nicole owns a $1.3 million estate. $1.3 million. The words landed like thunder. Cousin Jason, seated at the far end, broke the tension. I've been to Nicole's house. Infinity pool, chef's kitchen, home theater. Like something out of Architectural Digest. You invited us? My mother stammered. I sent engraved invitations every year for 8 years, I said quietly. Never got a response. Stopped sending last year. The truth was undeniable. My parents' attention had been elsewhere, focused on Olivia, blind to my achievements, my milestones, my life. The room held its breath, waiting for the next revelation. Grandpa leaned back, sipping his coffee. Nicole, you've done exceptionally well. Smart investments, multiple revenue streams, property equity, you've built everything on your own. And they've barely noticed. My mother's tears spilled freely. My father sat frozen. Olivia fled to the restroom, too stunned to respond. I collected my thoughts, my wine glass, my sense of quiet victory. 9 years had led to this moment of reckoning. The tension was electric. And I wasn't done yet. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. Comment below what you would have done if you were Nicole at that Easter brunch. And if you're enjoying this story, give it a like, it really helps the channel. Olivia didn't return to the table immediately. I didn't rush her. The room felt charged, the kind of heavy silence that only comes when long-held truths finally surface. My parents' eyes followed me, some pleading, some incredulous, but mostly stunned. After 9 years of brushing off my accomplishments, their disbelief was almost comical if it weren't so bitter. Why didn't you tell us any of this? My father finally croaked, his voice raw. I did, I said evenly, the memory sharp in my mind. At Thanksgiving 2015, I mentioned buying the house. You said I was being irresponsible. At Christmas that year, I invited you to see it. You were too busy. Easter 2016, I told you about my promotion to director. You asked if it came with better parking. Every flashback hit like a small cut reopened. Every ignored call, every dismissive remark, every sideways glance toward Olivia instead of me, it all came rushing back. Their attention had never been mine to command. They'd chosen who deserved it, and it was never me. My mother's lip trembled. Nicole, we didn't mean to. We just didn't realize. Didn't realize? I echoed, incredulous. You knew enough to memorize Olivia's bathroom schedule, her apartment setup, her roommate drama. But for 9 years you didn't know where I lived, what I did, how I built my life. Grandpa leaned forward, calm and deliberate. You've spent almost a decade being dismissed. And yet, Nicole didn't hide anything. She tried to tell you. You chose not to listen. My father swallowed hard, jaw tight. We thought you were struggling. You never asked for help. I never needed help, I said, voice steady. I asked for attention. I asked to be seen. 9 years of milestones ignored, conversations redirected to Olivia, achievements minimized. And you wonder why I never brought it up again. My mother's tears fell freely now, silent rivers of guilt streaming down her cheeks. Olivia reappeared, flushed and pale, as if the words themselves had pushed her out of the restroom. You're saying all of this whole time? Yes, I said quietly. All this time. Grandpa Walter's eyes softened, but his tone remained firm. They've treated you like a background character in their story. And now, Nicole, the spotlight finally shows what you've built. I took a breath and laid it all bare. The Riverside Estates house? Fully paid off. My role at Innovate Solutions? CTO. Annual compensation over $340,000. Stock options, bonuses, patents. Investment properties. Rental income. A net worth exceeding $2 million. Everything I've accomplished you ignored. Every celebration, every milestone, every success you shrugged off. My father's hand trembled on the table. My mother's face crumpled entirely, as if the weight of 9 years of inattention had finally crushed her. Olivia stood frozen, her voice barely a whisper. A millionaire? Yes, I said, soft but firm. Multiple times over. And yes, it's real. All of it. Grandpa leaned back, letting the truth sink in. You've built a life of your own design. And they missed it. That's their failing, not yours. My parents looked like they had been hit by a truck. But why didn't you tell us? My mother asked again, the desperation breaking through. Because every attempt I made was redirected. Every time I shared something meaningful, it became about Olivia. If you'd actually listened, you'd have known everything. But you didn't. The tension was suffocating, a mix of betrayal and awe. This wasn't just a revelation, it was a confrontation. For years they had unconsciously or consciously elevated Olivia while I quietly achieved more, built more, succeeded more. And now it was undeniable in black and white numbers, real estate deeds, pay stubs, and stock certificates. Grandpa placed a steady hand on my shoulder. They had the same chance to be present, Nicole. They chose not to. You chose to build. That's the difference. I rose, standing tall. I think I'm done here. You can't leave, my mother protested, voice shaking. We need to fix this. We need to start paying attention, I interrupted. That's the beginning. You want a relationship now? Earn it. Ask questions. Show interest. Don't expect me to comfort you for 9 years of neglect. Grandpa stood as well, aligning himself quietly beside me. I'll walk you out, he said. I glanced at my father. Don't take her side, he warned. I'm not taking sides, Grandpa said calmly. I'm standing with the granddaughter who actually lets me be part of her life. You both had the same opportunity. You chose not to. The words hit harder than any physical blow. 9 years of unnoticed effort, milestones ignored, accomplishments minimized, it all boiled down to a choice. They had chosen. And now the reckoning had arrived. We left the restaurant together, stepping into the warm spring air. The tension stayed behind, trapped in the echoes of disbelief and unspoken guilt. I walked to my car, every step a mix of liberation and sorrow, the weight of 9 years finally beginning to lift. Comment below what you would have done if you were Nicole. Would you have revealed everything at once or quietly let them remain unaware? Don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. And if you're enjoying this story, give it a like, it really helps the channel. The drive home was quiet but not tense. It was the kind of silence that comes after a storm. You're not angry, just aware. Grandpa Walter rode shotgun, hands folded in his lap, eyes calm, as if he had orchestrated the day perfectly, and in many ways he had. You handled that beautifully, he said finally, glancing at me. 9 years of being overlooked and you didn't explode. You showed them the facts. You showed them the life you've built without them. That's power, Nicole. I exhaled slowly, letting the adrenaline drain. It hurt more than I expected, I admitted. It should hurt, he said firmly. They had the chance to see you all along and they didn't. But now they know. And they can't unsee it. When I pulled into Riverside Estates, my 5-bedroom house glimmered under the late afternoon sun. The infinity pool reflected the sky like a mirror. The river beyond glistened in soft light, and every corner of the house whispered of years of careful planning and deliberate achievement. I opened the door and stepped inside, letting the sound of my footsteps echo off the marble floors. Everything was as I left it. The chef's kitchen with its wolf range, the wine refrigerator stocked with bottles I'd chosen, the home theater with its recliners facing the latest streaming setup. The guest rooms were immaculate, but untouched by family. This was my domain, built with my hands, my mind, my vision. My phone buzzed. My mother. I let it go to voicemail. My father called immediately after. Voicemail again. Olivia texted. I can't believe you never told us any of this. I set the phone down, feeling a quiet satisfaction wash over me. They had their chance and now they were forced to reckon with it. I wandered room to room, soaking in the life I'd created. The home gym where I worked out each morning. The office where I made strategic decisions affecting millions in technology investments. The spaces filled with achievements that had gone unnoticed by the people who should have been my biggest fans. And yet, the anger I expected wasn't there. Only peace. Clear, sharp, liberating peace. I thought about all the calls, the texts, the awkward conversations that would come in the days and weeks ahead. My parents would try to reach me. Olivia would ask questions. They would all want explanations, apologies, and reconciliation. But that wasn't my obligation anymore. I had spent 9 years bending myself into a shape that would fit their attention. Now I didn't need to. I was free. Sitting on the edge of my infinity pool, watching the river shimmer under the setting sun, I realized the magnitude of what I'd accomplished without anyone's help. My career was thriving, my investments flourishing, my home a tangible representation of my discipline and vision. And most importantly, I had proven to myself that I could create a life worthy of admiration, without relying on validation from those too blind to notice it. Grandpa's voice echoed in my memory. "You're the most accomplished person in this family, Nicole. Don't let their blindness make you doubt that." I smiled softly, letting that truth settle. For the first time in years, I wasn't chasing approval, I wasn't waiting to be seen. I was already seen by myself, by Grandpa, by my friends and chosen family. That was enough. The phone rang again. My mother. My thumb hovered over it, then I turned it off. Not tonight. Tonight I would savor the life I had built, undisturbed by the family who failed to notice it for 9 years. I walked through my home one last time before evening fully settled in, each room a monument to my resilience, intelligence, and relentless determination. Each achievement, each decision, each carefully calculated step was mine, completely mine. Tomorrow they could call. They could try to mend, to understand, to apologize. But tonight, I had the victory they had never seen coming. And it was perfect. Comment below if you think Nicole made the right choice standing up for herself. Would you have done the same in her shoes? And don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. Every story is a lesson in resilience, strategy, and reclaiming what's yours. If you enjoyed this one, give it a like, it really helps.